Hi, I'm Manda McKay. I'm a professional artist and I'm making these videos with tips to help people become more creative versions of themselves. Even if you're just starting out on a new hobby, these tips are meant to help everybody. So for this tip, I want to talk about finding answers in your environment, finding answers outside of yourself. I've done a number of videos where I talk about ways to decide between options, where we're trying to figure out what direction to go in your whatever project you're working on, for example. So for this one, this tip, it works best if you have maybe a few different options in mind and you want to narrow them down, and then you look to see if something in your environment within the next few days maybe will give you some kind of an answer. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Several years ago, I was trying to use one word basically to distill the essence of something, and I had narrowed it down to something like 5 words, and I couldn't, they were all decent words, and I just didn't know which one to use, and I felt kind of overwhelmed with all the choices. So I just was hoping that something would give me a sign, basically. So I went to get my hair cut, and I was in the waiting room, and I'd been in the same waiting room dozens of times before, and they usually have like magazines with different hairstyles, but they had this new book of hairstyles that I'd never seen before, and it was a really large-sized book, and it just had one word on the front cover, inspire, in really big letters, like in 2-inch tall letters. And it was at the top of this stack of magazines and books when I walked in and sat down. Well, inspire was one of the 5 words I was thinking of, and so I took it as like, yeah, that's a sign. Just use the word inspire, because there it was in pretty bold letters, just staring me in the face. And like I said, not any other text on the cover of that book, just that one word. Recently, I was trying to think of the exact way to word something. There were a few different words that I was going to use, and I just didn't know like how to assemble it or the best way to say it. And my husband, not knowing what I was trying to figure out, just used the phrase about something run wild. And I thought, that's it. That's the exact phrasing that I should use. So those are 2 examples for me. Now you've noticed these are examples of words. I tend to be a more visual person, so I think I struggle more with trying to figure out the exact words for something. But it doesn't have to be words. I mean, you can, for example, let's say you were trying to decide what color you wanted your next project to be in, red, blue, yellow, or green. Well, you could say something like, the next color I see when I step out the door. That might not be the best thing though, because if I step out my door, I might see all of those colors at once. So maybe you would think, okay, I'll wait till I hear one of those words out loud. So whichever of those colors, like if the first thing you hear is somebody says red, then okay, that's your sign to go ahead and use red. And maybe, you're listening to the radio and the next song that comes on has something that's answering one of your questions. Like I said, maybe it's something on TV, maybe it's something somebody says, or like I said, you just come across a specific word where you were trying to narrow it down. But either way, kind of put the intention out there to the universe that you want to know which of these options to use for whatever it is that you're working on, and then give it a few days and see if one of these options appears. And when it does, then you can take that as your sign that that's the option to go with. So let me know if you've ever experienced this before, ever tried this. I know a few other people who use this technique, so I'm sure I'm not the only one. But let me know in the comments, and I hope you found this video to be helpful. And again, my name is Manda McKay, and thank you so much for watching.